audience. Okay, I can help.
I can push buttons.
I can stand there and do it. No problem. Okay.
It's just a matter.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Beatrice Wating. I am an associate professor of pediatrics, where most of the things I do is educational stuff, and that's my background. I am here with Kathy.
I'm Kathy Boyle, and I'm the instructional designer for the College of Public Health, and sort of do all things education-wise for them.
And Michael. And you've seen me the past couple of times. I'm Martha Carley. I'm the e-learning coordinator of the Office of Educational Development.
Yeah, and I think most of you have been through a couple of sessions we've had. So our topic's about introduction to technology. As you can see, we're in a classroom setting, okay? So it's going to be hard to, do hands-on stuff, but this is an introduction to the technology. I'm going to introduce you to various tools. And we're also going to try and tie in what you've learned from the other sessions, and for you to see how you can apply technology to active learning, how you can apply technology to how to be an effective teacher. So we'll try to do that as we go through our session today.
So we're going to talk about exactly what technology is already available here at UAMS. We have a lot of free technology, like free software that you can use, and so you may not realize it's there. Also, we want to talk about the role of technology in a classroom, because sometimes we don't use enough and sometimes we use too much. And then the last thing we want you to do today, and there'll be a poll question at the end, is what one technology are you going to incorporate in your courses this year? So we're going to start out with a poll. This is Poll Everywhere. And what you're going to do is, if you are on your text messaging, you're going to go to your message service, and you're going to type in 37607, that's the address. And your message is Kathleen Boyd, without the E, 669. And send it. And you will then get a message back. And once you get a message back, then you're going to type in what state did you grow up in. And you just use the 2 initials. Do I need to repeat anything, or y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, so you open up your text messaging, right? And in the to place, you type in 37607, just like you would your friend's phone number, right? And then in the message, you're going to put Kathleen Boyl 669 and send that. Does that make sense? Okay.
And what do we put?
And the message was Kathleen Boyl 669, and you sent that. Okay. So you should get an email back. You get a text message back. Okay. And when it does that, you're then going to just drop down to your message, because you're now tied in, right? And just put in the 2 letters of the state you grew up in. It says what? I'm sorry.
It says it can't find you.
Okay. Yours working? It's not showing up yet? Yeah. Okay, did you put the E at the end of my name? Because if you did, I won't recognize it. Huh?
It says poll not active, log in to activate.
That could be.
Well, I didn't say that. No, that's, I think you said it out on the computer.
Oh, I got a message back that said I'm joining.
I mean, I didn't
Thank you.
send that.
It would help if I did my part right.
Yeah, so now you do
I got so
Our
much.
students will be 50 million times.
So if you
faster
sent
than
it
we are.
before, you might have to resend it. Alabama, New Jersey, someone near me. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Louisiana,
So what was
Minnesota.
the question?
What state did you grow up in? Moved to North Dakota, they grew up in Florida, in Oklahoma, no, Arkansas. SA, that's Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Aren't you impressed that I knew that? I actually lived there for 2
You
years.
should have confused and picked the states, not the countries.
Well, that might be even harder. Missouri, Colorado, so we're from all over the place, aren't we? That's good, we all bring something different to what we're discussing, which is one of those big things about adult learners, is that we bring experiences from all over the place. Okay, so let's go on. You might remember this slide, it was from our first lesson when we talked about principles of effective teaching. So this is just sort of the overview slide that is to remind us that being effective teaching requires us to have a way for student and faculty to have contact, that we have some way for students to cooperate with each other. We use active learning techniques. We give feedback promptly and that actually makes some sense. We pay attention to time on task because we don't want to be floating all over the place, because we know that as we bring our experiences into the classroom, sometimes we can tangent away from what we're supposed to be doing. We as the instructors need to be able to expect and help our students to achieve high expectations. And we remember that they have diverse ways of learning. And that doesn't mean that in every session I have to do something for each type of learner, because all of us as learners can adapt. Sometimes though we'd like to actually learn in our preferred style. So over the course of a semester, it's nice if you sort of include everybody. This is Knowles. And he is like the father of andragogy. And so he came up with originally 4, and then he added a 5th assumption about adult learners. So the first is that they have a self-concept. So as we grow, we begin to understand what we are like, and we move from being dependent on others to being independent as a human being. As we said before, we bring experience to our classroom. We also bring a readiness to learn. And basically, we as adults don't tend to decide we're going to go learn something or take a class unless we're ready to learn it. We tend to look for those experiences that fulfill our need to learn something. We also want orientation to learning, and we want motivation to learn. So even though I want to take this class, you need to help me orient how that fits into my life, and also help me to keep motivated, because as we bring different experiences with us, we also bring a lot of responsibilities with us. Anybody else want something to say? No? Okay.
What gets the fun part?
Yeah, okay, get to the fun. So Richard Mayer is a gentleman who studies and writes extensively on multimedia and how people learn with multimedia. And basically he says that it's not really the activity as far as getting up and moving around, but it's the cognitive activity that actually helps us learn. So on the left side, you see we have level of behavioral activity, and at the top is the level of cognitive activity. And so we have to have the cognitive activity high in order for learning to happen. But we don't necessarily have to have behavioral activity, although it is good to get people up and moving around because it does help blood flow and helps us stay awake. This is also a Richard Mayer diagram. And basically, he's talking here about when we use multimedia in the classroom or in a talk or whatever we're doing. And so pictures, we know that comes through our eyes. So our eyes see it and our brain interprets it. But when we're talking about words, we can either be reading the words, which also uses the eyes, or we can use the ears when someone's speaking. Now the problem becomes when I'm down there in the eyes and I'm reading and I see a picture and I'm listening. Now I've got what we call cognitive overload. I can't do all those things at one time and pay attention to what's really going on. So if you're going to use words, speak them and have pictures as much as possible. So you don't want all those PowerPoints that have bullet points on them, right? We want pictures that sort of demonstrate what we're talking about and then explain it to them. That's all we want to know about that. Now, I told you right at the beginning that sometimes we don't use enough technology and sometimes we will way overuse the technology. Well, we can get overloaded, right? So I don't want my students to be on their computers, texting on their phone, and doing whatever else they're doing while they're in the classroom because they're not paying attention. They may be multitasking, but really it's division of thinking. And so we want to be careful about what we use as far as technology. And we want to make sure that the technology we use actually has a purpose. It has to serve a purpose. If it doesn't serve a purpose, we don't need it, okay? And that leads me to my favorite saying of all time in technology. Just because we can doesn't mean we should, right?
You've got an amen, sister.
Okay, so yes, I can make a PowerPoint that can dazzle you, make you dizzy, distract you, and all sorts of other things. And because I've sort of made it, had so many bells and whistles, you come away thinking it was wonderful and then realize that you didn't learn a thing, right? So that's not what we want to do. All right, we're going to talk about what's here at UAMS and sort of what's free on the internet. So one that I want to draw your attention to is Khan Academy. Here it is. In Khan Academy, you may know from math, because it's very, math has a very great amount of math in it, but it also has all sorts of other things. And if you click down on subjects, you see we have math, we have science, biology, physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, economics and finance, arts and humanities, computing, test preps, partner content, college admissions, talks and interviews, coach resources. So it has a lot of things there, and it's free to use. This is all free stuff. So you can either link it to your lesson for a student, or you can bring it into your lecture.
And one thing too about Khan Academy, the perception is that it's for K through 12. There's a lot more information there that we can use as well than K through 12. Especially those of us in the sciences. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there about the sciences that is very, very helpful.
And so
it's one of those tools that you may want to tap into.
And also, the nice thing is, if you are teaching an advanced subject and you want the student to review something, Khan Academy is a good way to get them there. Another thing you can use is TeacherTube, where you can actually build a classroom. And so you can put your videos up there and anything else that you want to do, and it's private. So not anybody can get to it. We like that, not everybody can get to it part. Oops, sorry. Went the wrong way there. And then we also have YouTube, which most of you are probably familiar with. Short videos, no more than 10 minutes, although I've heard that they've extended that a little bit. And so those you can make private, or you can make it so that you have to have a link to get into it, or have to be invited into it, or you can make it public where anybody can find it. Not my favorite one. And then the last thing we have down there is Interactive Video Network, or IVN. It might be something that you've heard a lot about. We have it here. It's connected to all the schools in Arkansas, but you do have to schedule it, and you have to talk to the IT people on our side and the IT people on the other side to make sure that everything is in working order. So can be a little bit of a bugger, but it does allow you to have simultaneous class where you can see each other. Martha?
I did have the video index server open,
Okay.
but it doesn't appear to still be open. Here's Internet Explorer. The video index server, which houses the recordings from the Interactive Video Network, you have to have a special permission to get to the videos. This isn't letting me go right now, but I had it on Internet Explorer. Yeah, it got cut off. The good thing about the video index server is that the videos are housed on that server, and you can generate a link to either to your web page or to your learning management system. That way, Blackboard doesn't get bogged down with these huge video files. The video index server, College of Pharmacy uses it for their P3 year because they are connected with the Northwest campus through the Interactive Video Network. They record all of their classes, so then students can go and look at the recordings and play them back.
Well, that's the thing about technology. One of the things that we've learned today is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
So that's why I made slides of a lot of technologies. So if you have any questions about the video index server, you can give me a call or an email, and I can hook you up with the IT people that you need to schedule it, and then be able to get to your recordings on the video index server. A piece of advice: if you record a class, make sure you name the recording. When you put your request in to have it recorded, make sure you name your recording something that you can find. Because when you open the video index server, you see everybody on campus. So as a rule of thumb for the College of Pharmacy, all of our recorded sessions start out COP. Then it would have the course name and number, and then it would have the date. And that way we could sort through them pretty easily. Okay, the next piece that's available here on campus, we've used here 2 weeks ago, Turning Point, the clickers. The background of Turning Point looks like this, and you can mouse to cooperate with me. You can create your PowerPoints through the interface, which is a free download from Turning Technologies. You can also manage your sessions. When you finish your session, you save the data, and you can create your own grade book and generate reports. You can look back through the session when you get back to your desk and realize students A, B, and C are really needing some supplemental help. Or you may see a pattern where everybody bombed on a particular question, and maybe you need to go back and reteach next session. So it's a real good way to look at that data from the questions that you asked and then plan ahead. AV Services can help you with Turning Point. That's sort of their domain. And what else do we have? SoftChalk Cloud. And this is a product that's based on the web. It is a web-based authoring tool where you can create lessons that are interactive. Let's see if my link will work. This needs a plug-in that's not supported on this particular machine. But one of our teaching residents put together this section, over-the-counter drugs, on pinworm infections. And she gave her learning objectives. Then she had a very short 3-minute video introduction. And then each page has information about pinworm infections, and you'll see there's an interactive question on each page where students can interact. These SoftChalk lessons can be tied into Blackboard if you want to collect points. Questions about SoftChalk? I think the scariest thing about SoftChalk is that when you open it up, it's a blank page. You can copy and paste from Word documents. If you already have a PowerPoint presentation and you want to put it in a SoftChalk and put some of these questions with it, it's easy to copy pictures, place them on the page, and then any text that you might want. So you could do a 20-minute lecture in SoftChalk, insert it into Blackboard, and the students could come to class prepared and would already have had a little bit of practice with the content. So it's a really nice interactive tool. Okay, the next part is Blackboard, and of course that's my work. The Office of Educational Development, e-learning, we teach the tool. We help you with anything. We also provide training with Blackboard and any of the products. And where do you find Blackboard? When you log in to uams.edu, down towards the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Blackboard link. When you log into Blackboard, normally you'll see the UAMS tab, which will be your list of courses first. And here are my courses. One course that every instructor should have is the Faculty Resources site license downloads, and this is where you'll find all the downloads to Turning Point, SoftChalk, any type materials, software you can download to your machine and use. The next tab I'd like for you to notice is the Help tab. And here we have faculty resources for you. There's a Blackboard guide that you can search. Here's our email for help. I'm gonna yank this mouse out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. If you need us, Blackboard help at ums.edu, fast way to get us. And then here's our most frequently requested items. How to request a course, how to enroll users, safe assign, test settings, and then end of course tasks. There's also a help section for Collaborate, and then we'll post information about lessons or trainings that we have. Okay, I want to talk about some tools that you can use in Blackboard. And I have you a handout and a really nice poster that one of my team members made, Daniel Littleton. And there are collaborative tools in Blackboard that include discussions, building a wiki, building a blog, or building a journal. And you can use these in a variety of ways. Discussions are more or less, you pose a question as an instructor and then students respond with either facts or opinions. Wikis is something that they prepare. Each student is an editor responsible for certain content. Blogs, again, that takes the notch up a little bit. Students can prepare information, and then other students can collaborate and add information. So they can generate or synthesize new information. They have to have supporting evidence for a blog. And this takes you up that level of blooms just a little bit further. And then a journal is a real good way for a student to reflect and generate a plan for what they're going to do with the information that they're learning in the class. You can make journals private just between you and the student, and you learn a whole lot when you read those reflections. Okay, the next tool is the group tool. And here's just a screenshot of one of the groups in my College of Public Health classes. Each of the groups has to plan a health promotion program. So this group has chosen food insecurities and physical activity. There's a description of the group. The group members are listed. Of course, I've scratched them out. And then you can see the tools that are available for that group to use, and it's just within that group. The other groups can't see. They can share files just like you would with Google Docs. They can have their own blog. They can have their own discussion board. They can do a group journal. They can assign tasks to each other. And they can also send just group emails. And this all stays within just those 5 members of this particular group. And then at the bottom, you'll see that they already have 6 assignments that they will work on as groups. And they'll go into these assignments, they'll work for a couple of weeks, they'll submit their assignment as a group, and then I see it and grade it, and everybody gets the group grade.
You had a question?
So as the instructor, do you see what they're using the group space for, or do you only see when they submit the assignment?
You see all the groups. You see all the tools. You can see their file exchange. You can see their blogs. You can even pinpoint it down to activity by student
That's what I was wondering.
if there's a concern. And one tip I can pass on about working in groups, midway through the semester or the project, always let them fill out an evaluation on their group. That way they can anonymously tell you, the instructor, if something's not working, or someone's not pulling their weight, or if they need help. And I tell them at the very beginning of the group activity that it's my job as the instructor to help with problems like that. It's not their job. Their job is to work as a group.
And also Blackboard, as you set up your course, there's a little checkbox that says, do you want to track activities? So it also allows you to collect a lot of data in the background that you can always go back and look at, which modules do they look at the most?
Yeah.
How long were they on the specific module? So if it's, they spend 2 minutes on the module, when you expect them to spend 10 minutes, that gives you some data as well that you can go back and, help reflect on as an instructor.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Do you tell them at the beginning of the course that they will have this mid-course evaluation opportunity?
Yes, and then at the end of the course, when they present their projects, we do peer evaluations as well that counts in as part of their grade. I have a grading rubric that we use for the projects.
So the peer grading, that's within their group or their evaluation of other groups within the class?
Self-evaluation of their group and then peer evaluation of the other groups. That way you get a real good picture of what's going on. Another thing about groups is if you have health fairs, service activities, simulation labs that you have specific dates and times that you need a certain number of students to go to, in Blackboard you can create that group, tell them what the activity is, what time it is, and then if you only have 5 people that can go to the health simulation lab or whatever, you can limit the sign up to 5 people. So that is a real nice feature that keeps you from having to hand around a paper copy and people sign up or not. They can do it here online. Okay, I'm going to talk about Safe Assign for just a minute. This is when you make an assignment that's a written assignment, and it's a service within Blackboard that when the student submits their written paper, it also goes through Safe Assign. Have any of you ever used Turnitin? Okay, this is Blackboard's version of Turnitin. It's a huge database that checks for plagiarism. Here's a sample of a paper that has been checked. You can see the yellow is from a certain source, and on the right-hand side it says another student's paper. So that's a key that perhaps this was taken from another student's paper, or perhaps the wording is so close to the original source, and if you could read this, you can only see that the student gave a 2006 citation. There's no author. So you can use this as plagiarism detection. You can also use it, turn it back in, turn it over to let the students look at it. Let them submit a draft. Let them look at the Safe Assign report and then fix those problems, because sometimes they forget to cite, sometimes they're copying and pasting, and if they can see these highlighted areas, they'll fix it and then let them turn it in a second time. That's a real good tool. Okay, another tool that is connected with Blackboard is Respondus, and this is a test authoring tool where I can make any type of question, multiple choice, true, false, essay, matching, ordering, fill in the blank, multiple answers, and calculated questions. I can insert graphics, pictures, I can even put graphics within the distractor area. I put my question text up here. I can give it a title if I want. And then my distractors, I can have up to, I think it's 24. And then as I put my questions in, they drop down in the list. I can sort these, I can connect questions, make a question set. I can do all the editing. Then I can preview it as the student would see it. I can publish it if you want paper copies, and it will make, I think, up to 5 or 6 different versions of a test if you need to have different versions. And then the wonderful thing is I can publish these questions directly to Blackboard. Then I can retrieve them back from Blackboard with statistics if I want. Now, you've got statistics in Blackboard that you can run. You've got EAC outcomes that you can also use for a little bit more robust. And then you've also got the reports in Respondus. They're very similar to the reports you get out of Blackboard. All you have to do is type your questions following this template, this format, and then you upload them into Respondus, you tweak them, you add your pictures, your graphics, and then you just upload them into Blackboard. This same template, remember 2 weeks ago I told you about StudyMate? You can make games using that same template, uploading questions to make flashcards, crossword puzzles, and it is a Respondus product. The other Respondus products that we use are Respondus Lockdown Browser, and that does exactly what it says. It locks the student's browser down, and then they log into Blackboard to take a test. They can't leave Blackboard to go check their notes or their email or a website because it locks the browser down. They're in Blackboard and they can't get out until they hit the submit button on the test. That is a real good feature to use. And then the one on the bottom right is Respondus Monitor. This is a new product that Respondus has come out with that you can give proctored exams online. The student has to have a webcam, and when they check into the test, they take their webcam and go around the room so you can see what's in the room if they have notes stuck on the wall. You look, they have to show their complete testing area so you can make sure that there are no textbooks laying out or notebooks. And then they put the webcam up on their screen and it records them as they're taking the test. And you can see their eye movements. And when they submit their test, that video is saved and the instructor can look through the whole video to make sure that eyes were where they needed to be. We've got two departments in health professions that are going to try this monitor out. One feature in the content area that I wanted to point out, if you came to the Blackboard building course last week, when you build content, you can put in PDFs, Word documents, audios, images, videos. There's this wonderful section over here called Mashups. You can directly link Flickr photos, SlideShare presentations, YouTube videos, voice offering where you can leave voice messages. And then here's a new one called Explore Content. here's a picture of what Explore content looks like. You can put in a search term. I put in drug therapy, and I get all of this information. Some of this is from different schools. People have given open access to their materials, so you can look and see if, here's one that the Khan Academy did, unit conversion example of drug dosage. You can look at these if you want to add those to your Blackboard course. Those materials are there. This is a really good feature. And then the last feature with Blackboard is Collaborate, and that is, excuse me, that is a web conferencing tool where you can hook up with students, you can give instruction. We record, in the College of Pharmacy, we recorded our P1s and P2 lectures, and then they go directly into Blackboard, and students can go and view each class. You can also download MP3s or MP4s, and the students really like that because they can download that particular lecture that they need to review as an MP4 to their iPhone or iPod or whatever, and then they can fast forward through the stuff they don't need to look at again and focus on the items that they may have missed or need to review. A lot of people use this for office hours. Maybe you want to set up an office hour at night when students are most alive. And you can go into Collaborate, they can log in to Collaborate. You can see each other through webcam and talk to each other. You can review materials, do supplemental instruction, whatever. You can also have meetings, group meetings. It's a real good interactive tool.
Let me chime in here. Collaborate is really good. You can actually upload your PowerPoints into Collaborate, kind of like what we're doing right now. You can load up your PowerPoints in there and have your class online. You can set up polls, kind of like we did the poll everywhere. You can set up polls in Collaborate.
This is an example of a poll in Collaborate.
And you can set it up such that you can see all the students and they can raise their hand by clicking a button and they can chat within the box. It's a really great interactive tool. And like Martha mentioned, you can record it and archive it for later
Right,
viewing.
right. And it goes on a server outside of campus, so we don't have to worry about storage of video files, which is a big plus. You can divide students into groups, and they can leave this main room and go into private rooms and do a group project. Tell them to check back in 30 minutes, and they can give their reports. So it's a good interactive tool. And this is just a picture of what Collaborate looks like on a tablet. As an instructor, you want to use a desktop. You're limited with some of the tools within Collaborate on the tablets. But for a student, being able to view and interact and chat, it's great. Questions about Blackboard
Or any of the other ones?
or any of the other tools?
I have a big question.
Okay.
If we want more information on any one of these, who do we contact?
Okay, on the back of the handout with the blogs, wikis, is the help tab. You should have a picture of,
On the back. Right, here's a blank.
uh-oh.
Is there a second page?
There should have been a second page that had our help tab. The best way to get hold of us is email, and
Bonnie's got it,
Bonnie has it on hers.
but it's not, it's
It's
a
a
separate.
page.
Oh, okay. It looks,
Yeah, that one.
there you go. Our email is on there, blackboardhelp@uams.edu.
Okay.
And I also have listed some of the courses that we have for the remainder of this semester, which are on Tuesdays at noon. But we'll give one-on-one support, just email us. One of us will respond. Any other questions about Blackboard or the other tools?
So I don't speak as slow as you do, but I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. I'm just going to put a plug in for all the tools that Martha has mentioned. I work with faculty a lot in PEDS over at ACH, and one of the questions I always get is, you're going to spend all this time, creating all these tools, and then what? One of the things that I have actually got as well is Blackboard has awards. So you can get an award for developing a course. And you can self-nominate or ask someone to nominate you. So if you're a faculty member, that is a great feather in your cap figuring out for promotion and tenure. So all the time you're going to spend developing the course, if you get an award for it, it's yay. I worked with some nurse educators over at ACH, and we developed a course for evidence-based practice, to teach nurses evidence-based practice, and we got an award for it in the professional category. So look out for that. Just go to the Blackboard website and type in, they have various categories, and you can at least get some credit for all the hard work you're doing.
And they also give you feedback. So, though you may not get the award, they'll give you ideas of how to strengthen your class, so that maybe next year you will. So that's also a good avenue for just some feedback.
Right. The other thing that, because I work a lot with physicians, there's another website called MedEd Portal. Jump to it real quick. And this was not in the notes, I just thought about it now as we were talking. So this is called Medical Education Portal. So MedEd Portal is a great website where you can publish your modules. So if you're going to spend all this time creating modules in SoftChalk, you can also get credit for it. So if you're a faculty member, this website allows you to publish modules. It is peer reviewed, and UAMS recognizes it as a publication. So you can get some credit as well for creating modules. So as you're thinking about all these, yes ma'am?
Oh, no. I was also going to say SoftChalk itself has a competition where you can submit your module and receive recognition for that as well.
Awesome. So yeah, it takes a lot of time to build all of these tools and build modules and stuff like that. Try to get some credit out of it as you're doing it as well. It's a great, and MedEd Portal is great, especially for those of us in the medical field. There's lots of modules here that you can use to enhance your teaching. You can create an account and download what people have done, and you can also publish your work out there. So just want to put a plug in for those things. All right. So what I'll be talking about is a little different. We have two parts. One was talking about, I'm not good at standing behind the podium, so if you can hear me all right, I'll move around. One of them was talking about the tools that we have here at UMS, and what I'm going to be talking about is, tools like social media. Everybody's on some mobile device these days, and we're going to think about how can we harness those tools and use them to engage our learners. The first thing out here is the Blackboard Learn app. So Blackboard that Martha talked about has an app. I actually have it on my phone, which is dying. My phone is. So it's a really great tool. Whatever you do online will show up in the app. And so you can set that up. It's what I used to teach online. I can have my discussions. So if the students are having discussions, they can pull up their phones and you can have discussions on the phone.
Let me just say that I hope all your students are very young really good eyesight, because
Yeah.
I took the app off my
Right.
phone because I couldn't see anything.
So you have to,
Yes, yeah, I know.
yeah. But it's also, I mean, the thing is sometimes you may set up your course online and you may be on the road, but it's just gonna be a great way to just, look at something real quick and give the students feedback as needed. So you can download the app, it's available for free for us. Social media, Twitter and Facebook, you can use those for teaching as well. One of the things, I study social media a lot. I've done some work in the area and I'm still learning. One thing I tend to caution about is to try and separate your personal life from your professional life. It's very easy to not want to create a different account or just say, I have a Facebook, I'm going to invite my students. I would really advise against that. If you're going to use Twitter or social media, create one for your professional persona and separate your personal life from that. It's still a very murky area. Do you invite students or do you not invite students? Do you allow them to, put themselves into the program? So it's like I said, use social media with caution. For instance, in PEDS, we use Twitter for our grand rounds. And we have set it up such that you can set up a Twitter account and you can receive texts through that. So if somebody subscribes to your Twitter feed, they can get text from you through Twitter. And so we do that for our grand rounds, and it's a great tool. I'm going to talk about these 3 tools here, which Kathy has already, we use Poll Everywhere. And Poll Everywhere, it's a great tool. We talked about clickers, right? So if you don't have clickers, Poll Everywhere is a great alternative. I'm going to go ahead and log in and just show you how it is. It's pretty, it's usually easy to use and easy to set up. And there's an app for that too.
That's right.
There's an app for that.
You can actually insert it into a PowerPoint, like what we've done here today with the polls, that they're actually embedded into PowerPoint and are connected to my Poll Everywhere account. So that's pretty cool.
The app is for instructors or students?
Anyone can have it. I don't want to use my account. Hold on.
Oh, it might be on mine.
It might be on yours. No, it's not. I didn't want to, I signed in with my Gmail, but it's not allowing me to sign in with Gmail right now. All right, I'm just going to use the free one. Okay, so when you log in, which I didn't, okay, so when you log in, it kind of looks like this. And it's easy, just go ahead and create a new poll. Okay, so if kind of like what Kathy did is, which state are you going in, okay? Which state? Or one of my favorite things to use it for instance, one of the active learning strategies was the muddiest point. So you can put a question here that says, what else would you like to learn, or what was not clear during this lecture? Okay. I can't type. Okay. So Poll Everywhere, as you can see down here, it allows you to do multiple choice. So you can have multiple choice questions. So that would be a great way to, ask a question in the middle of your lecture. It allows you to have open-ended, questions, and you can do a cloud, like the poll that we had, about which states did you grow up in. If Kathy had chosen the cloud option, as more people showed Arkansas would get bigger, and everything else would be smaller. So if you use this option, it helps you know what the students are thinking or what the most common answer is. Q&A brainstorm is why it is to brainstorm, and then you can have an image in there as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create. Now once you create it, it gives you various options here about how you want people to answer. Okay? I guess because I'm not logged in, it's not giving me the other options, but like we did here in class, you could respond with your phone. So it gives you a number to use. And this here allows you to open up the poll for everyone to answer. And there's a test function there that allows you to test it before you roll it out. So you can test your poll. And here where it says present, this is where you kind of download your poll into your PowerPoint. So after you set the whole thing up, you can download it into your PowerPoint. Now when you download it, it will give you a slide that looks like this. It's gone. Okay, there it is. It will give you the slide, and as the questions come up, the answers pop in, it will be right there. Yeah, so it integrates seamlessly into your own presentation. There's another tool that I'm not going to show here.
You can also group your polls into one presentation, like the three that we have in this presentation are all grouped. So you send your answers to the same number all the time. So you don't have to change numbers in the middle of the lecture.
There's another tool that's very similar to Poll Everywhere called Socrative. So it's set up in a very, very similar manner, and I put it in here, the useful technology tools and resources. And so it's a really great tool. If you don't want to go out and use clickers, it's a great way to get your class engaged without the clickers. Remind is a new tool that just came up recently. And Remind is basically a tool that helps you.
It's pretty much a text messaging reminder. So if for instance, there's a special event coming up in your class, you can send a remind out to your students, and that way they'll just sort of get that notification that something's coming up, or if the paper's due, or the whatever, you can send that out through your phone.
I've been using that this semester to experiment with it, and so far I kind of like it. Not all my students signed up for it, but those who did have really appreciated it.
Yeah.
I've used it to remind them of a deadline for an assignment, and what I like is they don't see my phone number.
Right, that's what it's called, yeah. So that's what it does. It gives them a number to text to. So they don't get to see your phone number at all.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And you can set up your, like if you have a couple of things you want to remind them of, you can set it all up, and it will send it out at those particular times. So you don't always have to, send it when it's time for you to send it.
For instance, Dr. Gandy was out of the country the first 2 weeks of his class last year, and so he, like every 3 days or so, you got a remind from him. And so, he set that all up before he left,
Yeah.
because he wasn't going to be around the computer for a while, so. But it looked like he was.
So this one, here it is, I'll block here. So this is, it's really, really simple. I mean, you click on the class sign to add a class. So if you're teaching 2 or 3 classes, you put the classes in. You can just type in your announcement. As easy as that. It has instructions on how to join a class. And like you mentioned, it gives you a different number, and you can even set up a different user ID, so it doesn't have to be your name. I set it up for the class. So if, this one is for teaching with technology, you can set it up for EPI or EPI 101 or whatever. So you can set it up for different classes. And this is a PDF. So you can download the PDF instructions, and instead of having you do it, just click on the button and then it has the PDF stuff for you.
What is this a subset of, or where do we access this?
It's just called remind.com, and I think there's a link to it on here.
Okay,
It's not a subset of anything. It's just a tool that's out there on the web.
gotcha, I see it
Yeah,
now.
that you can use. And I think that it has a chatting feature. I've not tried it, but you can set up a chat. You can set up a chat. It says you can set up office hours, and you can chat through Remind. And as I've not used it, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. So you can set up group or individual conversations. I'm going to move on to another one of my favorite tools, which is Today's Meet. It's kind of like Today's Meeting. And this is a tool that can be used for back channel conversations. Martha mentioned having discussions on Blackboard, so that's one way you can do discussions. This is another tool that you can use for discussions as well. So you can go in and set up a discussion topic. So this can even be used before class. So you can set up a topic before class, send a link to your students, and let them discuss it before class. You can download the transcript for this. You can, like I said, use it during class. One thing that is interesting about this tool is that you can set up the class to be 1 hour long, a week long, or for a month long. So you can decide the lifespan of the class, of the discussion. According to the website, which you all know that's not quite true these days because of Ashton Madison, they say that if you set it up for 24 hours, it's supposed to completely disappear. So people have mentioned that it's good for if you want to talk about some sensitive issues. You can set up a closed class, discuss those sensitive issues, and then the class will disappear after the period you have set it. So I mean, it's a great tool. And just recently, they've rolled out teacher tools, which I think you have to pay for. But without the teacher tools, it works as a great resource to include technology into classroom. So with that, I think we are about to take a break.
But do we want to go ahead and do the exercise?
It's fine, Melody. Yeah.
We can do the poll and then do, there was a new poll.
Yeah, there was a new poll.
Oh, where are we in this left? Yeah, that was right now. Okay.
You want to do this one because we don't time? We'll just keep over that.
That's the, that's it.
It's this one, but it's
Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, some of them got answered on the
on the other one.
on the other one. Okay, so this one, the question is, which technology would you like to know more about? So going back to your message, even though it's collecting states still, put in which technology you want to learn more about. Oh, there is a way to clear that. Hold on, let me clear it before we do that. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll just let it run. That shows.
I know we didn't talk about PictoChat, but it's a tool that you can use to create illustrations of what you want to teach. So you can create diagrams within PictoChat. It's most of these tools are intuitive. So once you go to the website and you log in, they usually have videos on how to do something. And so there's a lot of tools on that sheet and resources, but we just couldn't go into everything because of time. Yeah, but I'd be happy to show you how to do it if you have any questions. But it's pretty intuitive.
So you actually have a lot of resources hanging out and about. So OED, of course, is one of your best ones, because they're there to help you. My job is to help people, and I don't mind if you don't belong in the College of Public Health. You can come ask me anything, I will try and help you. And Beatrice has offered her help, so there you go.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm mostly over it, in Pete's, but I'm known to answer his emails, regardless of where they come from. Yeah.
Well, I got some we can talk about.
Color,
All right.
That was a text correction on the cover.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I don't remember color. And as you can see, we used this for our grand rounds this morning in Pete's. And as you can see, it's all anonymous. So we had a ground round speaker, and after grand rounds, we have set up a poll everywhere poll so that our people in the audience can ask questions. And usually we have mics, but nobody stands up to say anything. And we started using this about 2 weeks ago, and the speaker spoke for like 45 minutes and had questions for about 30 minutes, which would not have happened without the poll everywhere.
Okay, well, we shut that one down and go into the break.
Let's take a,
Laura, you want to do your
2-minute
drawing?
Shaquila? Nope, she's busy.
I'm just thinking about it.
yeah, we'll have to do that.
It's time for the draw.
Geisman?
Not yet. Oh, she's here. Pick a book.
Get to pick a book.
Awesome. I mean, we are kind of out of time, so we're going to keep going. One of the things we had planned to do was, I know I talked about tying in active learning into technology. At the back of one of your handouts, which says, which tool should I use? So I think last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a session on active learning. And so we pulled some active learning strategies on one hand, and you can, fill out this here to see which of the tools you can use for active learning. We had planned to do that as a classroom exercise, but since we're out of time, we're going to jump into the next activity.
Which
Okay,
is
so-
your scenario. All right, so you have a thing that's got a scenario on it. It's about a COPD lesson or unit that you're going to be teaching, but you're not physically in the space that your students are in because you've got set up to Northwest Arkansas, and you still have to give the lecture because it's scheduled for today and you have to give it today, right? So you've got a couple minutes to read it, and then you need to get together with 3 or 4 other folks and sort of talk about the answers to these questions. And you should have a whole printout of that, hopefully, in your packet.
Should we go?
Yes, we can just do 2 groups.
One of each.
This half and this half. There you go.
Well, here you go. That one.
Join.
Oh, I'll just listen in.
Supposed to have been mine.
So students are in Little Rock, and you're in Northwest Arkansas, so it's already gonna be on LPN, right? Or is that?
Yeah, yeah.
One of the questions is these up there.
That's right.
And there's other places you can sort of put them in, or Merlot and
You sign up for it, it's free, for 3 people, or 3 computers. So what I do is.
I got the neighbor, take the whatever.
On screen, it's pretty nice. Then you go to their specific. So I do on their
Because I have the clicker, and it's the cost of the clickers.
Share your area. They can see the slides, it's going to be video. Collaborate. With all the a lot of stuff in my camera now, so I have to have media services. Yeah, access to my camera.
No, this is supposed to have, this is last.
Well, there's things I'm not even left out.
Face selection, yeah.
Looking at the class, like the classes, right, it's called like that.
There's a couple that I've done the discussion boards, but I find that if you don't tell the students that they have to interact with their classmates, all they'll do is post their original thought and then it's over. So you have to make them, just, I have to, sometimes that one's a little bit more complicated for me to use. One of the ones
Is there chapters that are done?
is the journaling. Because they can do their thoughts, I can see it, and I can comment back to their thoughts. These other two, I've never played with.
And does it have,
You know, one of the things she mentioned about Facebook, my students create accounts of groups. So the only people that can see that group are the ones that they invite in. So they always invite their classmates and then me. And then like I do a demonstration of that and videotape it. That group on Facebook.
So you've got 2 more minutes to discuss what you're doing, what you're gonna do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they give us like.
Introducing the Dish 2-year TV price lock. 190 channels, 400 copper HD DVR for just $49.99 for 2 years. And those monthly fees others charge with Dish's 2-year price lock.
I like that. You got good, girlfriend.
Yeah, that way only one person had to videotape it, and all that's access to it.
Oh, yeah, that's usually nice.
I like it all when they accept the questions, but over it. Well, my number 27 is your number 32, and it's your number. And everybody's like,
All right.
yeah, it's-
So, you get to report now on what it was that you guys decided on, right? So, what tool or tools could you use to do your, to present your class? From Northwest to down here. IBN is one.
Blackboard collaborate.
Blackboard Collaborate.
Soft top.
Soft Talk, although that's not synchronous, but that's okay. I didn't say it had to be synchronous, did I? All right. Cool. So what tool or tools could you use to be sure the students remember that you are lecturing from a different location today? Remind could do that.
Twitter.
Twitter?
Lockdown browser. Don't look at anything else.
Email, yeah.
Blackboard has an announcement
That's
tool that's also very helpful. You can create an announcement plus send an email directly to the students' UAMS email.
Assuming that they read. Anyway, how could you make this lecture interactive? Huh? I'm sorry. what?
Because in Blackboard, they're put in by their UAMS email and username and ID.
But, so you have to.
You only see it in Blackboard, so if you're not logged into Blackboard, you don't see the email, right?
No, it goes to their email account. It's just their UAMS email account.
If it's sent by email, you have to click it, so it will go there.
Yeah.
It
There's a
goes
click
there
box.
outside
You have to set it up that way to go.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a little checkbox to say send email to students.
Okay, so look at that.
Okay, so how are we gonna make it interactive? I'm over there, they're over there.
Pull everywhere.
Poll everywhere, we could use that.
Twitter.
We could use Twitter,
Responders.
we could use Respondus.
Soft top.
You could use Self Talk again, wikis.
I'll respond.
How would you use that? Because it's, you have, like you have an hour class and you're trying to make it interactive.
Yeah, okay.
But actually, you can have them with their computers and they have to be making notes and everything, and you tell them you're gonna check their notes or something. Or assign a group of students to be responsible for taking notes on a particular topic. There's
That's basically
some
it.
different ways. Yeah.
And you can still do some active learning, even with being offsite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you see, there are things we can do. Woo-hoo. So, questions for us? We have one more poll, so don't go away. Recap.
Oh, I'm sitting.
I saw that look on your face, that's all I said.
Sorry, I should not touch more.
Okay. So remember though, that with technology, we always want to have a purpose. If it doesn't serve a purpose, we don't need it. That being said, we're